Tree measurement logically follows on from plot measurement and represents the majority of the infill data collection performed in FirsDC. Assuming the plot values were already saved as draft on the previous occasion, that is tutorial 103, you'll already be in this form. If you're not in this form, simply go to the main menu, select plots, click on the plot, and you'll come into the same form at this stage. But we're now ready to click this To Trees button to start entering tree level information. We have three parts to the main tree form in FirsDC. This left-hand part is what's called the tree grid, and it'll display any saved trees. Because we haven't saved any trees yet, there isn't anything visible. This part through the middle is the main current tree entry part, and as you click on each individual text box, you'll see that it highlights blue for which one you're in at the time. And over here on the far right is the context-driven, field-driven keypad. And what I mean by that is it will show various numbers or letters or pick list options depending on which field you're in. You change the species, it will disable the number pad and you will only see the species options. Again, these can come from the pick list as well. This is the first of our tree custom fields. It's called DOM or Dominance. And you'll see again, this can either be selected from the pick list or using these buttons, which is the quicker way. If you click on any of the buttons associated with these configurable fields, you'll see that what happens is on a long press, not a click, sorry, a long press, the description information will come up to give you some additional information about what it is that you might want to select. Because for the button itself, the intent with FirsDC is to keep it as short as possible so that you can actually see on screen in the available real estate what it is that you're selecting. What you can do for a tree custom field and any quality field is you can tick this set as default option, and the next button you tick will then be stored by FirsDC as the default option for any new additional tree that you create. You can do that with quality as well. I'm going to set A as the default. And Tree Note is a more flexible open field where you can also access your device's full QWERTY keyboard to make an entry, but try to keep the entry to less than 50 characters. If we go back to DBH and enter in 123, what we might do at this stage is show you the settings. If you scroll across this top bar, you'll see that it moves left to right. And the settings option, you might say, I actually want this to be E. pileularis each time. That's what the default was. It's what I intended. But I don't want to keep seeing that. I just want to toggle that off. And it's going to store in the background. It'll store E. pileularis. What we want to do now is we want to actually save that and create a new tree. There are 3 save buttons. This first initial save will just save the tree that you're in at the time, and you'll see we've suddenly appeared over here on that left-hand tree grid, save tree grid. This one in the middle is the one you'll actually use most often. It not only saves, it saves and gets the next tree number ready, the sequential tree from the last one you filled in. So that's just a little bit of a handy time saver. This one over here is for once you've completed all your trees, you'll save and next we'll move you on to the next sequential tree number without actually creating a new tree. So we'll enter in another DBH here. We'll enter in a few more. And what I'm going to show you at this stage is that you might, at this point, you can click on any tree and say, okay, that's actually a different dominance class. Click the save button whenever you make an edit moving around in the tree grid. But what you might want to do at this stage is you might want to start thinking about height trees. The first thing you are going to want to do is you're going to want to show the height fields, and that is height itself, which is a numerical number in meters. And this height type. And the height type just allows FirsDC to exactly identify how it's going to be used for either a stand height growth or the height diameter prediction method. So a T tree, if we long press, is a top height tree. A G tree is a general height tree. A U tree is an unusual height tree that we don't want predicted by the height diameter curve. So what you might do is you might manually say that I want a height tree number 2 and tree number 3 is height trees. If you long press on the tree number, it will turn it into a height tree. To take it off again, it will take it off. Long press to turn it on. And what you can do is, if you go back into settings now and click this filter to height sample only option, it'll only show those trees that you've definitely intend to actually height. So there's no chance of clicking in the wrong tree number and entering a height against the wrong DBH. But what you also might want Firs to do is, rather than selecting this manually, is you might want it to give you an indication of what it thinks should be the height trees. And if you've used either MDH or PMH in the data range set, it will do this for you. So I want it to suggest height trees. I might actually toggle that filter to height sample only off now at this stage so I can see everything. And it said, right, this is the fattest tree, so I believe this is going to be the top height tree. If it's PMH, it will be exact about it. It will know that exactly from the plot area how many trees to do and which is the fattest. If it's mean dominant height, it will suggest, and it will probably give you double the amount of trees that you need, and it'll let you identify which ones you actually want to select. So it's identified that tree 3 should be heighted, so click in the tree grid for tree 3, go into that height field, enter in your height. I do want it to be a top height type, and always when you've come back and made an entry, click the save button, and that will commit it into the FirsDC database, and you'll see that stored there. You might also decide that you want to get a general height tree, and what we're going to do now is we're going to enter in a deliberately bogus kind of height to see what happens when Firs tries to pick up invalid entries. So I'm entering in 34.2 for a fairly skinny tree. I'm going to make it a general height tree, and I'm going to hit the save button. And I've got this little form that's come up that said, I think that's unusual. It seems to be outside of the range of what is a normal height diameter ratio. Just click that gotcha and dismiss to get rid of it, and go, no, that's not, I didn't mean 34.3, I meant 13.3. Just note it's defaulted it back to the default of T tree, so just change it back to G again and click the save button. So what we can do now is we can also at this stage decide that perhaps this last tree we didn't want to include it, so we can delete that, and there's a little confirmation stage. We can also decide that perhaps a certain tree is an edge tree and we want to mirror it. Make sure you do that after you've entered any heighting information, and it will duplicate that tree and give it an extra 1000 tree number. You can also go into the assistant menu and see some of the other little tools that you can access. There's some useful diagrams. You can actually calculate sweep deviation if you want. This might be terribly useful when you're trying to decide weirdo breast heights. And there's a little fork diagram as well. So we've just entered our first tree, four trees, one which has been mirrored. We've deleted one as well into FirsDC. Thank you.